I have ham and cheese in the back here. When the food stewards are done doing their mise en place, they're going to go ahead and put that on ice so it'll stay cold. We just want to make sure the ham and the cheese don't get too warm and start coming in the danger zone. After all, ham and cheese are high protein and they're more susceptible to bacteria, so we're going to make sure that we keep those in good shape. I've already pre-cut my cheddar cheese into small pieces. The reason I did that is because those cheddar cheese pieces are pretty large. You'll also notice I kept it pretty conventional. I didn't buy some exotic ham like prosciutto or Black Forest or anything like that. I kept it pretty simple, basic, ham and basic cheese, simple cheddar cheese. I didn't want to get too fancy because when they're inside of a scone, are you going to notice that they put in fine brie cheese inside of your scone? Probably not.
No, but I sure would have loved to have used that brie.
Yeah, it would have been nice. That stuff was a little old. But brie, if you sell it as that though, let's say you've got scones on your menu for the baking component of the place you work, and you want to put on there that you've got brie inside of your scones, they'll probably sell it because of that.
You better be using brie.
And you better be using brie, or at least something very similar to it, so no one knows the difference. But yeah, camembert would serve its purpose too. But camembert is even a little more expensive. Alright, so as I mentioned to other people, that you could do this in the mixer. You don't have to do it on the bench like I'm doing, but if you want to do it on the bench, you're welcome to. It's just like we did for pie dough. Really simple. I've got my cold butter cut up into small pieces here. It said small to medium dice. That's what I'm doing. It's basically the size of a little bit bigger than peas, really pretty reasonable size. And just like we do with anything in this method, we're going to take our dry ingredients and mix them together first. So I'm going to put my flour out here on the bench, my sugar, my baking powder, my salt, and just kind of put it all together in one place where I can get it mixed together. I don't want to have big, pockets of baking powder. That would be a bad thing. I just don't want to have big pockets of salt or anything like that. So sugar, yeah.
Especially if you're going for a savory, that'd be bad.
Yeah, I mean a little sugar is okay in scones, even if it is a savory scone. But you don't want to have a big sweet spot. I also do this so I can feel for any lumps. I do feel occasionally a lump of sugar, so I grab that and I kind of pinch it and give it a chance to mix in with everything else. All my liquids, as you can see, are kept separate over here. I'm going to take my eggs and egg yolks and put them all together so that they're ready to go. And let's just do this like we did before. We mix our dry ingredients with our fat. Get it all well coated. Now, you can roll this out in the rolling pin if you want, if you're doing it on the table. If you're doing it in the mixer, what I would recommend is you mix it on low speed with a paddle for a short period of time, probably 15 seconds or so, just to kind of get everything well mixed together. And then when you add your liquids, actually do it slow, kind of pulse it together. It really won't take much mixing to get your liquids mixed in. You're really only mixing until it's mixed, and that's all. I'm going to use the rolling pin here a little bit, just kind of get this together. Bring these pieces of fat into a little bit smaller, flatter pieces. This won't really change my scones all that much, except that with being flat shingles, these little pieces will start to flake away from other parts of the scone a little bit more. It'll be a little bit more flaky, a little bit more crumbly. With biscuits, of course, we could do this as well if you want to do it on the bench. I like the old school though. I really enjoy doing it this way. Alright, so just a little reminder when it comes to rolling pins. Rolling pins should never fall on the floor, so always make sure they're anchored some way in your table. Don't immerse the rolling pin in water. There's those black rolling pins we have here at school, and if they get immersed in water, they fill up with water, and then they start dribbling out all over everybody's product when they're using them. They just leak. So what I do is I wipe them down really good with a warm rag out of the dishwater first, and then I take a rag with a sanitizer fluid and wipe them down with that to make sure they're clean. But I've been finding a lot of those have been immersed or put through the dishwashing machine, and then what happens is someone's rolling with something, and all of a sudden these rusty colored rings start showing up on their work because rusty water is coming out of the inside.
Yummy.
Yeah, it's not your fault. It's not the other class's fault. It's all of us have to be reminded to not put those in a patch of water. All right, so just like we would before, I'm making myself a little well. I'm going to put my liquid in. It's a lot of liquid. Yeah. Let's get my eggs broken.
Could we do this like in a bowl?
Sure you could. Yeah, you could do it in a bowl, you could do it in a mixer. This is a little more messy, I bet. But again, I'm just mixing it together. There's no reason why you have to make as much of a mess as I'm doing. I'm just doing it because I like everybody to see the process. And it's hard for you to see it inside the mixing bowl when I'm mixing it. So this kind of gives you a little bit more of an idea of how it works. Now, I have not put my garnish in just yet. First, I'm kind of getting this all well blended. I haven't pressed it together either. I just kind of, the minute I press this together, it'll start to stick to itself because it's quite moist. Okay, so now goes the garnish. I want the garnish to go at the very end, and the reason why is because I don't want the paddle in the mixer to smash your garnish. If you start smashing your garnish, you'll get little teeny pieces of ham that will be barely noticeable, and little tiny pieces of cheese that no one will be able to tell except for the color. So when you do it this way, you just kind of fold it in. The ham stays whole, the cheese stays whole, and it's much more noticeable. So that's when I start to press it together. I'm looking, people have asked me before, how do you know when you're done mixing? Well, I look for everything being well mixed and homogeneous, where everything's kind of together. If I see any dry spots, I try to make sure those get mixed in well. I'm not looking to over-mix, but I'm just looking to make sure everything is, well mixed together. And this sticks together much better than a pie dough. Of course it is. It's about 100% hydration, like I said, so it suddenly is more sticky, and it holds together really well. Looking on the bottom. Okay, scone dough. And this is savory. If you wanted to put something else in there, you could. I mean, after all, we have dried cranberries, we have raisins, we've got nuts over there. Pistachios are really good inside of these, if you've never tried that before.
From more sweet or savory.
You can go savory or sweet with pistachios, because they are nuts, so they're really very versatile that way.
No, I'm not. I don't want to give them up. I don't want to give them up.
Alright, so you can see my garnish is well distributed, and that's really the point, is trying to get this really well distributed. I'm just going to press this out.
How thin are you going?
I'm going to probably go down to, 3/4 of an inch to 1 inch. I'm just going to put the paper over here so I can spread it out. And this is going to rest in the fridge for a while. Now, personally, I like nice triangular scones. So if I pull this out of this sheet